friends and family are left with many questions after a homicide last weekend. They say they just want justice for their friend.
She will not be forgotten.
It looked like any other military funeral at Camp Nelson, but we'll show you how this veteran is like no other. A memorial remembering American heroes.
They honor my brother, they honor the families.
We'll introduce you to a Kentuckian who wants to make the 9/11 Pentagon Memorial anything but ordinary.
This is WKYT News at 11.
Cooler weather is here. Thanks for staying up with WKYT. I'm Kristen Kennedy. Storms are making their way out of central and eastern Kentucky. WKYT meteorologist Jim Caldwell starts us off with the no-wait weather forecast.
And it is a lot calmer around here compared to what it was a little bit earlier today, just a few hours ago when we were on the air. We were on late today. Showers and thunderstorms were passing through the area. Now, most of it is out into parts of eastern Kentucky where they're getting some rumbles of thunder and some heavier rain. But this by no means is anything significant as it continues to exit the area. It's now mostly into Virginia and West Virginia as well. But some pockets of heavier rain are still lingering. High resolution model shows you that, takes it completely out of town, and that is it. As we head through the overnight hours, you might have a rogue shower or two, but generally clearing up and very quiet as we go rolling into your Sunday and especially into Sunday afternoon. It looks absolutely fantastic. So clear tonight through the day tomorrow. We get a lot of sunshine back in town, and yes, Kristen, temperatures are down into the mid-70s. We'll start maybe Monday morning off in the low 50s, so some cooler air hangs around for a little while. We'll track all of it coming up.
His death last weekend still has friends and family wondering what happened. Sunday, police found the body of 24-year-old Trevor Dilger in the backseat of a burned car on a road just off Old Frankfort Pike. The coroner still has not released his cause of death. WKYT's Caitlin Setner talked to one of his friends in our top story at 11.
This was not just some fluke accident that happened out in the middle of nowhere, Lexington, Kentucky.
Family and friends that might as well be family are left with many questions this Saturday evening.
I don't know who could have done this to Trevor because everybody loved this kid. Like everyone.
Just yesterday, the coroner confirmed what no one wanted to be true.
No one really wanted to believe that that was him that was in the back of the car. Everybody wanted to believe that something else happened.
With Trevor gone, friends say they're trying to focus on who he was.
I probably met Trevor back when I was, I'd say 13 or 14 years old.
Alex Butler grew up with the 24-year-old.
Hanging out, play video games, playing basketball.
The pair grew up, some things changed, but Butler says others never would.
He's the one guy that would tell you like it is and still love you no matter what was going on. I mean, he was just, to hear this happening is, I mean, it's something that really nobody expected just because of who Trevor is as a person. I know that he was having a tough time with some of the stuff that he was having to deal with.
Now, friends didn't elaborate on what those tough times might have been here recently, but they want their friend to be remembered as fun-loving and such a good friend. He was also a soldier.
We want to make sure that Trevor gets justice.
So far, no arrests have been made in the case. In Lexington, Caitlin Setner, WKYT.
We did talk to family tonight. They are hoping for an arrest in the case. We have new details tonight about a murder that happened earlier this week in Lexington. Police have arrested 28-year-old Daniel Glasscock in connection to Monday's deadly shooting. They arrested 22-year-old Destiny Huff yesterday. Police say Huff and Glasscock were involved in an illegal drug transaction with Victor Villagomez Durante. They say the pair shot him early Monday morning outside the Microtel Inn on Buena Vista Drive. He died Wednesday. Gomez Durante is from Colorado. Both Huff and Glasscock are facing murder and robbery charges. Police are looking for two men wanted for a shooting near a Lexington shopping center. They say someone shot a man in the chest and wrist behind the Captain D's on Reynolds Road. That man, we're told, ran to a nearby Office Depot for help. Emergency crews took him to UK Hospital. And that victim, 27-year-old Charles Davis, is facing two charges: possession of marijuana and possession of a handgun by a felon. The state police say an escapee facing a murder charge is back behind bars tonight. 31-year-old William Napier escaped Friday. Troopers say he had just finished a court hearing in Breathitt County and was on his way back to the Three Forks Regional Jail. He's accused of stabbing and killing a man last July at the Jackson Inn. Troopers tracked him down this afternoon. Napier is now facing escape charges in addition to that original murder charge. The service was like many others. Mourners at Camp Nelson honored a veteran, but this veteran was different than every other person buried at the Jessamine County Cemetery. WKYT Sabir Rayford talked to her family in a story that's new at 11.
Left, left,
It's a first for Camp Nelson,
left, right, whole left, right, whole left.
holding a 21-gun salute for a canine, but don't call her just a dog.
It's not just a dog, you know, this is this guy's family.
She served 2 tours in Iraq. Her job was sniffing for bombs. Her name may have been Ireland, but she was an American hero.
This dog has rank. This dog has 2 Purple Hearts. It's actually served its handler well, saved countless lives.
Today, the people that knew her least,
It was a real honor to be here.
along with the people that knew her the best,
She was just a beautiful, special dog.
flocked to the cemetery to say their goodbyes. Ireland's partner Josh Sutherland says losing her wasn't easy.
She brought a lot of joy into our lives, and losing her was it's probably the toughest thing I've ever been through in my life.
But it's not the first time the Sutherland family has attended a service at Camp Nelson.
He would be so proud that this happened today here.
Josh's grandmother says her brother served in Vietnam. He passed away 4 years ago, and she says honoring Ireland at Camp Nelson brings her comfort.
And I'm just so thankful they're both here together now. It helps me with my brother being gone.
It's rare to touch so many lives in just a few years, but for Ireland, no task was too big.
She's done more in her life than most men and women ever will.
In Jessamine County,
She will not be forgotten.
Sabir Rayford, WKYT.
Ireland couldn't be buried at the National Cemetery. Instead, family buried her at their farm before today's service. Our nation's capital is full of monuments and memorials, but there's one a little off the beaten path that pays tribute to the Americans killed in our country's worst terror attack. Washington correspondent Ted Fioraliso takes us to the Pentagon Memorial.
If you're old enough to remember, you'll never forget what happened on September 11th, 2001. Right outside our nation's capital, 184 people lost their lives when terrorists slammed an American Airlines flight into the Pentagon. Here, those lives are not forgotten.
It's a place where you can go and get inside and kind of get lost in your own thoughts.
Jim Lachek lost his brother Dave in the building. He showed me around the memorial dedicated to the victims, right in the shadow of the impact site.
His bench and this age line is pretty much right where the flight path of the plane came.
At first, you see the obvious, 184 benches, each engraved with a victim's name. But take a closer look, and there's a lot more symbolism. Benches facing the building represent the victims on the plane. The ones pointed away are for those who died in the Pentagon. They're organized in order of birth year. The oldest victim, a 71-year-old retired Navy captain. The youngest, a 3-year-old girl. Communities across the country were impacted by this attack, including our own. Edward Earhart was a native of Moorhead, and he spent time at the Naval Reserve Center in Lexington. About 500,000 people visit the memorial each year, including school kids who weren't even born at the time.
5 children that died in the attack. 2 little girls that were traveling with their mother and father to Australia, and then 3 kids from DC elementary schools that were traveling with their teachers with National Geographic. And in those kids that were in school were 5th and 6th graders. So it's interesting to see kids that are 5th and 6th graders gravitate towards those benches.
But Jim says there are a lot more stories to tell, so he's helping to develop a plan for a new visitor education center, which he hopes will attract even more visitors.
They honor my brother, they honor the families, they honor their memory by taking time to come here and spend some time here and remember what happened on that day.
At the Pentagon, Ted Fioraliso, WKYT.
Lachek is hoping to raise $6 to $7 million for that center. 0-2 is not the start the football Cats were hoping for. UK went down to the Swamp to take on Florida. They were looking to end a 29-year losing streak to the Gators. Lee K. Howard breaks down what went wrong for the team.
Yeah, a lot went wrong for the team, Kristen. The Kentucky Wildcats losing streak has been extended to 30 against Florida now. It's a rough day for the Wildcats at the Swamp. No one thought it would be easy going into it. Florida captured the early lead, and they never let off the gas. Near the end of the first, after an interception, Luke Del Rio goes long on the very next play and finds Antonio Callaway in stride. That's a 78-yard pitch and catch. Gators were up 14-0. Drew Barker, he would struggle all day long. Picked off 3 times, down 24-0 in the third. Marcus May hauling in the wounded duck there. Barker just 2 for 10. 10 yards, 3 interceptions, and the Gators, of course, would make the Cats pay. Freddie Swain hauls in a 26-yard touchdown pass there. This one, well, the Wildcats will want to forget it soon. Falling at Florida 45-7. The Wildcats will return home to take on New Mexico State next week. We will hear from Mark Stoops coming up a little bit later in Game Time.
Still to come on WKYT, the annual Roots and Heritage Festival is happening in downtown Lexington. We'll tell you when to catch the festivities.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
Rounds of showers, thunderstorms pushed through the area earlier today and still holding on across parts of eastern Kentucky here tonight. But in Lexington, it's nice and quiet. As we look to the outside, there you see everything nice and calm for you on this Saturday night. It's 69 degrees, humidity up, obviously. We'll get a drier air mass in here for tomorrow, and it's going to feel spectacular. Daytime highs barely above where we are right now, probably around 76 degrees, but the air is just catching up. It's a little bit slow sometimes when we try to make that type of transition. Other locations out there tonight also running in the upper 60s, low 70s. The full effect of the new air mass, again, not completely here yet, but you can certainly feel a change compared to last night. We are running around, especially in central Kentucky, 5 to 10 degrees cooler than we were at this exact same moment. That puts us in the mid-70s last night at this same moment. Well, that's much cooler air that's filtering in area-wide. So just be ready for it. There you see the showers, thunderstorms wrapping up into eastern Kentucky, and we can see the skies trying to clear as close as Louisville, and that'll continue to happen as we roll through the overnight and push this mess, these showers and thunderstorms, completely out of town. We're just waiting on those to disappear. Frontal boundary dropping in on the area, cleaning everything up, and just sweeping through the area, bringing us some big-time change all across Kentucky. So a pleasant little run. So today we were tracking that cold front. Brought the showers and storms. We had the heat around. Now we get another fall blast in place for your Sunday. And it'll feel that way on Monday as well, but the true feel of it is tomorrow with those mid-70s for daytime highs. Here's what it looks like with our hour-by-hour run. Rain wrapping up to our east, gets completely out of town. We go into the early morning hours, mid-50s start breaking out all over the place. That's a little bit of a chill. And then you see the actual daytime highs coming in 75, 76 degrees. Very pleasant for your Sunday, and then on Monday morning. Why don't we get a little bit cooler? Well, it could certainly happen. Low 50s start breaking out. Might even run into, in the sheltered valleys at least, in eastern Kentucky, might even run into an upper 40-degree reading early on Monday morning before we get into a little bit of a recovery there with more 80s back in town by Monday with sunny skies, mid-80s by Tuesday. Just some comfortable stuff here for us, at least at the onset of the work week, and then we kind of go back and forth beyond that. But let's not worry about that. Let's worry about tomorrow because it's going to be absolutely spectacular.
Looks great out there. Thank you, Jim. Yeah. Today's soggy weather didn't put a damper on the annual Roots and Heritage Festival in Lexington. If you missed it today, you have a chance to check out the event tomorrow. The marketplace is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and a gospel celebration starts at 4:30. Lee K. Howard takes a look at what Mark Stoops had to say about the second disappointing loss of the season. Stick around for Game Time.
And good evening. Welcome into Game Time. The longest active losing streak between any two college teams in football has reached 30. Kentucky entered the Swamp this afternoon without a win in Gainesville since 1979. Florida had history on their side, and they did the best to embarrass the Wildcats today. First quarter, the Gators, Mark Thompson punches it in from 3 yards out. It was 7-0 Florida. The Cats come back on their next possession. Drew Barker going downfield, looking for Jeff Badette, but he hangs it up in the air just a bit too long. Picked off by Quincy Wilson. Florida back in business. Barker's second interception of the year. So what does Luke Del Rio and the Florida offense do? They're going deep on the very next play. Antonio Callaway in stride, 78-yard pitch and catch. Gators up 14-0. Go to the second quarter now. Cats turn the tables. Defense gets a big play here. Del Rio's pass tipped. Derek Beatty makes a great play on the pass and gets the interception, so the Wildcats are in good position to score some points. The Cats get Austin McGinnis a 34-yard field goal attempt, but he hits the left upright. Everything going wrong and downhill for the Wildcats. After Florida hits a 53-yard field goal to make it 17-0, Del Rio hits Brandon Powell on the 5-yard slant, 24-0 Gators. Literally the only first half highlight for the Wildcats came on the final possession of the first half. Boom Williams carry. It goes 35 yards, 24-0 at the half. We go to the second half. Cats take the ball, and Barker promptly throws his third interception of the game. Marcus May hauling in the wounded duck here. Barker just 2 for 10, 10 yards, 3 interceptions, and the Gators, of course, make the Cats pay on that one. Busted coverage by the UK secondary. Freddie Swain hauls in the pass. 26-yard touchdown makes it 31-0. Still in the third, Steven Johnson in to spell Barker. Let's see what he can do at quarterback. First snap looked pretty good. Second snap, though, it was a fumble. Florida recovers the ball. Cats had 4 turnovers in the game. Florida once again punches it into the end zone. Jordan Scarlett goes across the goal line to make it 38-0 Gators. Florida wins 45-7. That's a 30th straight win for Florida over Kentucky.
Not a lot to say other than we got our butts kicked, on offense, defense, special teams. I guess we did some decent things, but we got handled. Got behind the chains offensively. Can't do that against a quality team. They covered us. They disrupted us, got us behind the chains, a lot of negative yardage plays. We can't play that way. Defensively, same thing. We're on the field too much. Can't get off on third downs.
Tough day for the Wildcats. Now Kentucky will hope the third game is the charm. Kentucky returns home next week to host New Mexico State out of the Sun Belt Conference. And tonight the Aggies hosting the University of New Mexico. This one's still being played in the fourth quarter, 32-32. New Mexico State, actually it's 32-31 New Mexico State, under 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Well, for a second straight season, Morehead State and VMI have met in the second week of the season, with the Cadets edging the Eagles 43-40 on a last-second field goal last September in Virginia. So tonight, the Eagles looking to return the favor in the home opener. Early in the second, VMI's Al Cobb looking downfield and connects with Dane Forlines. He's going to weave his way through the Morehead State defense. 43-yard pass and catch, 7-0 VMI. Later in the second, VMI's Cobb again. This time connects on another pretty touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone to the Cadets receiver Aaron Sanders, 14-0 VMI. Then in the third, here comes Morehead State. They get on the board with a 16-yard run from Trevor Jones. That made it 14-7. We go to the fourth quarter now, 17-7. Morehead State still fighting. Austin Gahafer completes the 17-yard touchdown pass to Darius Pritchett to make it a 4-point game, but Morehead State comes up on the wrong end of another close game with VMI. It was 17-13. Highlights from around the SEC are still to come, plus the Bengals open the season tomorrow visiting the Jets. And why is the NFL keeping Avery Williamson from wearing a pair of patriotic cleats? That's next on Game Time. Tuesday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $122 million. The NFL is back, and the Bengals kick off their season with an AFC divisional crossover game against the New York Jets on Sunday. Andy Dalton will see his first meaningful action since a season-ending injury. One of the big matchups will be between the Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green and the Jets corner Darrelle Revis.
I think they're having the same conversation. They have that guy, we have that guy. And so it's going to be a good matchup. You know, we're going to trust that our guy's going to win, and that's the mindset you have to have when you have one of the best receivers in the league. It's what you expect from him, and that's what AJ expects from himself, and we wouldn't want anything less.
Titans linebacker and former Kentucky Wildcat Avery Williamson was just trying to raise some money for a good cause. That was until the NFL stepped in. Williamson was planning on wearing these 9/11 themed cleats during the Titans season opener on Sunday and then auctioning them off to charity. But the NFL told Williamson that he would be fined if he wore those cleats because they didn't look like the rest of everyone's shoes. So Williamson made a compromise. He won't wear the shoes, but he still plans to auction them off with the proceeds going to Operation Warrior Wishes. Good to see him making a good thing out of a bad thing. Top-ranked Alabama taking on Western Kentucky today, second quarter. Bama with a 10-3 lead, and Eddie Jackson picks off Western's Mike White. He's going the other direction, 55 yards, picks up a big block there. It's a pick six, and Bama is on the board again. Then Ardarius Stewart gets the 8-yard pass for the touchdown. That pushes it to 24-3 Crimson Tide. Late in the fourth, the Hilltoppers finally getting on the board as Lucky Jackson catches a 24-yarder in the corner of the end zone. Damian Harris for Bama finished the day with 45 yards on 11 carries as Alabama beats Western 38-10. Georgia getting a real test from Nicholls State today. Third quarter, Nicholls down 13-7. Chase Forcade hits Jarrell Rogers, and he's going to dive into the end zone. It was reviewed and ruled a touchdown. Nicholls takes a 14-13 lead. Following a drive for Georgia, Jacob Eason finds Isaiah McKenzie on the curl route. He's going the distance, 66-yard touchdown. Georgia back on top, 20-14. But in the fourth quarter, Nicholls State down just 26-17. Second and goal for the Colonels. Forcade throws it to the corner of the end zone. C.J. Bates brings it down for the 6-yard touchdown. Georgia, though, able to escape with a 26-24 victory. Mississippi State searching for its first win of the season, hosting South Carolina. Bulldogs pull out the trick play. Fred Ross with the halfback pass to Donald Gray. 17-yard touchdown, 14-0 State. Just before halftime, Nick Fitzgerald finds Jordan Thomas, who pulls down a great catch for a 3-yard touchdown. Mississippi State finds the win column, 27-14 over South Carolina. The Kentucky volleyball team played a pair of matches today. We'll have those highlights for you next when Game Time returns. Kentucky volleyball hosting the Bluegrass Battle this weekend on campus. The Wildcats with a pair of games on Saturday. This morning, Kentucky hosting Virginia. Wildcats up 2-0 here in the third. UK freshman Leah Edmond with the kill. Edmond, the Dunbar product, had a game-high 11 kills. Kentucky's defense led the way. Edmond and Kaz Brown putting up the big block. Wildcats had 16 team blocks in the match, and we go to the scoreboard. 2 big wins for the Wildcats today. They sweep Virginia. Then they go on to sweep St. Louis this evening. 2 big wins for the Wildcats. And that'll do it for this edition of WKYT Game Time. Good night, Kentucky.